Hello everybody and welcome to Across the Pond, the monthly show in which me and QJ talk about all the things that we've done in the month.
Shambles!
You instantly... So, a little bit of a story. We tried to record this and QJ kept ruining my intro, and then I forced her to do a proper one, and then she's ruined it again.
Dan was being a grumpy little killjoy and wouldn't let us have a fun, interesting intro.
What's wrong with being a grump? Anyway, so you are trying to play... Well, you were originally trying to play 52 games in 52 weeks and read 52 books in 52 weeks. As far as I understand it, you've changed that, and now you're doing 52 books and games, and like putting them all in one, correct?
Yeah, I guess. You know, I haven't really counted to where I am. I'm just trying to do as much as I can in the month and then talk about it. I didn't finish any games this month. I've been playing just Pokemon, and I've been playing a couple other games on TV consoles, but I haven't finished them, and one of the games, like the disc, got all fuzzy and stopped working, so I don't have any games to talk about this month, so it's going to be a really short episode. But that's okay, because I've heard you've watched like 1,000 movies, because that's actually a really easy New Year's goal.
Yeah, it's completely easy to do.
Doing something easy with your life.
Watch movies. The thing is, though, actually, I say that it's easy, but it really isn't, because I'm really easily just, like, I have such a bad attention span. So a lot of the time I'm like, I could watch a movie, and then I'm like, nah, I'm just going to go and watch cartoons instead. Like, it's a bad time.
So it's a good goal for you.
I left, like, most of my movies. Yeah, it is a good goal for me because it forces me to watch more movies. And I've watched some movies that I wouldn't have seen otherwise if it wasn't for this show, and I'm glad about that, especially this month. This month I've watched some kind of interesting shit like I would not have even heard of if not for this show, and it's good. It's good times.
That's pretty cool.
But along with my movies and your games, we'll get to my movies later, you are reading books. What book did you start with this month?
Well, should we talk about the one that we both read?
The one that we both read, the old dun 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 da 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 da. That's the theme song. You wouldn't know because you haven't seen the show. You've just been reading the books, but that's the theme song. I realized halfway through singing it, I was like, she's not gonna know what this is.
I was like,
she has no idea. We both read the first Game of Thrones book. I've seen the show. You haven't. I know what's gonna happen. You don't. It's a good time. What did you think?
It was wonderful. I could not put it down. It was. I couldn't do anything else while I was reading this book. I like to have like a few hours of reading time reserved. Otherwise, I don't feel like picking up a book I like if I don't love it. But I was like every couple of minutes I could spare during work or before bed or like between meals and stuff. I couldn't put this book down. It was really, really well written, and I was surprised at how easy it was to read for how like gritty and political it is. But I really got into it. Yeah, I really got into a lot of the characters, and they were really just relatable as people. Yeah. And a lot of it was pretty confusing as far as who everyone was. I feel like everyone had 3 different names, and all the different houses and families. I'm like, I can't remember who's who and who's fighting which place and where they're going and what city this was and why they're dressed this way. but I got through it.
Why they're dressed this way? When is that important? What are you on about? Important. I guess they do. There's a lot of descriptions of what people are wearing.
Yeah, but I'm terrible at putting that kind of stuff in my brain, like visualizing those things, because they'll be like, this person was walking towards me and he was wearing gray, and it was like, dun dun dun, you know who that person is because they're wearing gray, and I'm like, shoot, which family wears gray? Like, I don't know that. I don't know what that was.
I have this added benefit of like I can picture it because I know the actors. Like I'm just like, that's Sean Bean there, classic Sean Bean right there, classic Beaner. We're gonna probably spoil the first book, right? Is that a plan? I'm gonna put up a timestamp for when we stop spoiling Game of Thrones. If you've seen the first season or you've read the first book, you know what we're gonna be talking about. We won't be spoiling past that. But if you haven't and you plan to, there will be a timestamp on screen. Go to that timestamp. Miss all of this. Okay, so when you watch the show, you have this walking, talking spoiler of Sean Bean, because Sean Bean's existence is he's gonna die and you know it. So how was the book not knowing that old Neddy Stark is Sean Bean? Because you wouldn't have known. Okay, so Sean Bean dies in everything he's in, right? The actor Sean Bean.
I don't know who that is.
How do you not? Okay, so you wouldn't, if you had been watching the show, you wouldn't have known that. So, okay. Sean Bean dies in everything he's in. Sean Bean plays Ned Stark. So people
Yeah.
watching the show, the moment you've watched the first episode, knowing Sean Bean's history, you're like, that guy's dying. I know this, and I can accept this. How was reading the book and not knowing that Ned Stark was going to die? Because I knew it from the start, because it's like Sean Bean, duh.
I mean, I don't know how to say how it was reading it without knowing. I just
was there tension? I don't know. I'm just trying to.
because I didn't know he was gonna die till I was maybe more than 3/4 done with the book, because you and I were keeping up with the chapters online to tell each other like where we were, and each chapter has like the person's name at the front.
Yeah.
And I sort of scrolled down, and I was like, a lot of some of these chapters are missing Eddard's name. Like, and no one's really died yet.
God damn. I forgot that might be a thing.
I was
thinking that you wouldn't know until like the moment, because they make it look like old Joffrey isn't gonna do it, and then he just like is like,
oh my
boom.
gosh, that's that little brat.
That's like
I wanted to strangle him.
Turn of knowing that Joffrey is a complete turd. Like, it's like, oh, classic Joffrey. Now we know what character this guy is. I hate Joffrey. Everyone hates Joffrey.
Well, that's part of the reason I hate like royalty stories in general, because like freaking 8-year-olds can just become rulers of the land. And I'm like,
but no one's happy about it. Apart from Cersei, though. Actually, Cersei's alright with it. But like,
oh man,
one of the things that's interesting in the show, George R. R. Martin wrote a letter, I think, to the guy who plays Joffrey, and basically said, "Congratulations, everyone hates you."
Yeah.
And it's like, he's done his job. He's done his job well.
Yep.
But yeah, Joffrey is a turd. He gets. I'm not going to spoil it, but he gets worse. That was pretty obvious. Cool. Who is your favorite character?
Arya.
Arya. See, I have this problem where Arya went to my secondary school, and like the actress who played her. So the whole time I was watching the show, I was like, I never spoke to her, but people at my secondary school, like my friends and stuff, who did come into contact with her, were just like, yeah, she was horrible. So every time I watch the show, I'm like, I've seen her around secondary school, and everyone says she was a horrible person back then. Kind of ruins it. So I never enjoyed her in the show, but in the book, she's really cool.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
And I like her story.
I love her.
My favorite character is Jon Snow. Potentially Tyrion. Probably Bronn, actually. No, Bronn is my favorite character. Bronn is the best character in the entire series. Bronn is amazing. As in, like, Tyrion's little mate, Tyrion's mercenary mate, who's just like, pay me some money, I'll kill some people for you, it's alright. I love Bronn.
It's one of those minor people that I'm totally forgetting at the moment.
Bronn is so good. When you watch the show, you'll Bronn stands out way more in the show than he does in the book, but he's still great in the book.
Reading from John's point of view was pretty great. I feel like he had a lot of things that he was struggling with and like growing through, and so I felt that out of all the characters, he was like changing the most, and I felt like I was changing with him, and it was kind of a Bildungsroman kind of thing with him.
Yeah.
So John
definitely has the most development
chapters.
In the whole series. Unlike Daenerys, who just does things randomly and is complete nonsense. Oh god. As someone who hasn't seen the show, how do you feel about Daenerys' chapters? Because I am against them, because I think she's a really uninteresting character, and I'm already sick of her.
I don't know why I loved them. I was I liked
Nobody likes Daenerys.
I like the major differences in the culture aspect of her chapters. They were a lot different than everyone else's chapters because of the people she was surrounded by.
Yeah.
I understand why she kind of...
John's as well, like on the wall.
Yeah, but I understand why she kind of falls flat as a character, because she is just kind of thrown into her situation. And, her brother's abusive, and then luckily her husband's pretty nice to her, and then all of a sudden...
Yeah, which doesn't make sense.
Because...
He shouldn't be, but Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, because, like, everyone decides to be like, you know what, your brother's a jerk, we're gonna kill him. And then she's kind of free of that.
I love that scene.
And then, like, oops, your husband's stupid, so he dies. And then she sort of grows a little bit stronger throughout her chapters, and then she's like, I'm the freaking queen of everything now. And I'm like, I didn't really see many... I like that she developed into a stronger person, but I didn't really see how that happened much without the help of...
None of her...
Without the help of the people who were around her, who were like,
without the help of Jorah the Explorer.
What?
Classic Ser Jorah.
Oh.
Ser Jorah. I love Jorah, he's great. But, like, you know, no, none of her victories are earned. Everything that happens to Daenerys just happens randomly, and it's like, okay, cool, Daenerys did a thing, whatever, who cares? Like, she's just... And then she gets really smug about it and is like, I am the queen, I am the dragon, and it's like... And she gets more and more insufferable as her story goes, and it's just like... Oh,
I mean, it felt kind of like the same as, like... Because in the beginning, her brother's like, I am the dragon, I get whatever I want because I'm born into it. And you're like, you're a douchebag, you should die. And then he does. And yet she's still like, I am the dragon lady, you know. I am born into this, which is why I deserve all this. And I'm like, what? You're just like your brother.
I'm married into this and therefore I'm great. Yeah. Actually, now that I think about it, that's an interesting angle on that story. I never thought about it like that before. Damn, you've made it slightly more interesting. I still hate that storyline, but it's, you know, it's better now.
For some reason, I'm able to overlook all that because I just think I think that area of this world with all the Dothraki and stuff is really cool. And I was so happy at the end of the book when those dragons hatched because I love dragons and I'm really happy the series has dragons. So I'm really excited to read about dragons.
One of the later books is called A Dance of Dragons, so like it shouldn't be a surprise to you.
No, I knew it was going to have dragons, but it was still like...
Don't get too excited.
Wait, what?
Because it might be just because of the CGI budget, but don't get too excited.
That's fine.
Because if it happens like it does in the show, yeah.
The fact that the series has dragons in it is actually one of the only things that was spoiled for me.
The thing
like, I just heard someone say, like, yeah, that show has dragons, and I'm reading it, and I'm like, they're saying all the dragons are dead, so at some point, these dragons are going to come back. And then at the end, when they hatched in that big flaming frenzy, I was like, yay, baby dragons!
Yeah. I think that the idea of all the dragons being dead and this kind of, like, this world used to have all this fantasy, but it is kind of like you're coming out of the period of fantasy, and now everything's becoming more medieval and real. I like that aspect of the Game of Thrones series. Like, I really like how there's the dragon skulls underneath like King's Landing and stuff like that, and that's really interesting to me. I really like the idea of like transitioning into a more realistic world from something that had magic and things. How did you feel about Caitlyn being horrible to Jon all the time?
I really liked Caitlyn's character. I don't love her as a person, but I feel like she's a really good character. I feel like she's got her levels of good and levels of bad, and I understand why she hates the product of her husband's, you know, infidelities. But as I don't know. I felt like she was very...
I can see
what
you're saying.
She had a very thick, like, just character. Like, she had a lot going on. And I was able to relate to her.
She's definitely interesting.
Similar to the way I was able to relate to Jon.
Yeah. Well, there's that scene where Bran's been ill, and she just literally turns to Jon and is like, should have been you. And it's like, that broke my heart, that scene. That hurts. I hate that scene. It really upset me, and it made me be like, Caitlyn, I hate you. You're the worst.
Yep. Well, that's a really hateable thing to say, definitely.
But yeah, so Game of Thrones, how interested are you to keep reading?
Oh, very.
Good. Let's keep going. Let's do this.
We will.
Me and you, we're going to read some Game of Thrones. I reckon we can get a book in a month, and we'll talk about it. So next month, we'll talk about Clash of Kings, which I've already started. I don't know about you. And it's pretty good, even though I know everything that's going to happen.
Awesome.
Just one final thing on Game of Thrones, actually. I think it's really interesting to read when you know what's going to happen, because George R. R. Martin is excellent at foreshadowing. So there are so many things where I'm like, oh, it's that! And, like, I know exactly what he's saying or what's going on here. And it's
I've experienced that before.
Oh! And it's great foreshadowing.
I just wanted to say I really enjoyed the minor mystery in the book when Edward was trying to figure out what was the guy's name who Cersei killed? The previous
Jon Arryn. Yeah. Why he died? That whole mystery?
And like he figured out that he was like reading a weird book and looking for something and trying to find something out.
Yeah.
And like that whole thing, because I'm not really into like detective mysteries, and it didn't really take up much of the book, but it was there. And so when that was like all figured out, I really enjoyed that.
There's some really interesting points in that, like Jon Arryn's final words were, "The seed is strong," and it's really interesting seeing different people have different takes. Like Lysa Arryn thinks that he's saying like, "Our son is strong," but really he's saying, "Oh no, it's the Baratheon seed is strong, and therefore those kids should have black hair," you know?
Yeah.
But you get this really good scene later on where Lysa Arryn, who is crazy and I hate her, is like, oh no, that means that my kid's strong, even though he's a complete worthless turd, and
Yeah.
everyone should hate him.
Little Will.
It's good times. Yeah,
She is crazy.
it's good.
Both those
It's good.
sisters are crazy.
Yeah.
Cersei was a really
Lysa
cool
more
villain.
so though.
She was freaking
Cersei is
detestable.
so good. Cersei is great because she's hateable, but she's just doing what like is right. Like she is just trying to get her family on the throne, and it's clear that she just cares about her children and Jaime and stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's
Um,
interesting that she's got that dynamic.
Yeah.
Like she is just doing what she thinks is right and best for her own family. And
Yeah.
she tells Eddard, she's like,
She's-
I love my children just as much as you do, even though I'm
Yeah.
the horrible bad guy and you're the, precious good guy. She doesn't say that.
It's kind of like Game of Thrones doesn't really have any like true traditional like I'm just here for the lols evil villains apart from Joffrey. But like when there is a I'm just here for the evils kind of villainous character, they're not really the actual villain. Like
Yeah,
Joffrey
well,
isn't really the villain. Like
And
it's
villains like
Cersei
that
in
are
the
really
background
dull.
doing it. Yeah.
Most good villains in any story are villains that are like, I
Mm-hmm.
am here and I believe what I am doing is right.
Yeah. Yeah, like in Suicide Squad, where the villain was just so good.
Yeah, best villain ever.
But yeah, like I really like the inclusion of Cersei, and like Joffrey, I think is a good villain in the sense that he's not really the one in power, but he's a good distraction. You know?
No, he's like Cersei's little tool.
Yeah, he's just a tool to an end.
And it's
Although,
really
to be fair,
horrifying to
Yeah.
imagine like this little boy put on a throne and it's like, okay, now you have the power to just kill anyone you want. And it's like it's like setting a rabid dog like off his chains and you're just like, let's
Yeah.
see what happens. And I'm like, I'm so scared.
Yeah. And the things he does, like the Sansa point of view in that story, is like, no, Joffrey, no, please stop. Because I never really like in the show, I never really like felt for Sansa at any point because a lot of her character is kind of lost. Because a lot of her character is good because in the book, at least, because you get to see like all the subtext in like what she's thinking and how she's feeling and stuff, and you get to actually read that.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of that's lost in the show because you don't have expositional text. You just have what's there to be seen. So it's kind of hard for them to actually portray her as a character that you feel for, or at least for me. And some of that was lost, but I don't think that's the fault of the show because it would have been really difficult to like actually translate that expositional text and stuff into the show. So I don't blame them. It's just kind of one of those lost in translation things.
It was
But in the
difficult
book,
for me.
It's excellent.
It was difficult for me to feel for Sansa anyway because I just thought she was dumb.
She's kind of dumb, but then you've also got to remember she is like 10.
Yeah, but I mean,
Like-
Arya was younger than her, and I thought she was like super smart.
I think Arya's less smart and more stubborn, sort of thing.
I guess Arya just liked cooler stuff, honestly.
Yeah, like because
Sansa
Sansa's
was
just
just
going
boring.
with what she's always been taught. She was taught.
Yeah, I was gonna
like,
say that.
Be
like-
like mind her courtesies and all that stuff and courtesies. How do
Courtesies.
you pronounce? Yeah, that courtesies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because I was gonna say
Um,
Sansa seems really just like dim-witted and empty-headed, but yeah, you're right. She was just raised
Yeah.
to be a lady and to be like, you're gonna marry a prince.
Yeah.
And live happily ever after, and that's all she wanted. And then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
oops, your prince chopped your dad's head off.
All of a sudden,
And now what are you gonna do?
oops, your prince is the worst. Your prince is medieval Hitler. Good job going there, Sansa. You done goofed.
Yeah.
Um,
Game of Thrones
Yeah,
is
it's-
modern evil Disney princess story where everything goes wrong.
they should make a Disney film about Sansa and Joffrey. It'd be great. I'd watch that. I wouldn't watch that. Actually, I would watch that. That'd be pretty funny, but also horrible. Anyway, Game
You've
of Thrones
taken up my
spoilers
whole half
over.
of the show with
Taking
Game
up
of
your
Thrones.
whole half of the show. I tried to pull us away from it, but we just went back. It's
No,
such a
you
good talking
didn't.
point. Like, I did. Go back, rewind the footage. Anyway, spoilers end here. Good book. We'll definitely be reading more of them. If you
Absolutely.
haven't read the books or watched the show, I would recommend it. I
Yeah,
don't know
me
if
too.
which I'd recommend doing first, but one of them. You choose.
Books.
Unless you don't like reading, then the show is great. It's fine. So yeah, what other books did you read?
I read this book called Perfume by
Mhm.
Patrick Suskind, who's a German writer, and I bought this book a few years ago because I read it off a list of the top 10 most disturbing books of all time. And I read
Oh.
the premise and I was just like, that's bizarre.
Yep.
And this book is really bizarre. It's not very long, but it's about essentially this sociopath who is obsessed with his sense of smell. He has a really, really, really over-heightened sense of smell, and he is obsessed with gathering all the different kinds of scents in the world, and he becomes like a perfumer. And for unexplained reasons, he himself doesn't have like a scent. Like he gives off no odor, and later in the book this like becomes a really big deal to him. And so he spends the entire book learning how to make perfumes and the art of perfumery and all that. And he learns how to extract scents from lots of different things, like whatever, trees and like doorknobs and like stones and all this crap, because he's just like completely unfeeling about absolutely anything except the things that he can smell. And it's really, really, really weird. It's just, I don't know how the author came up with this idea. I feel like he was just like having drunk writer's block, and he was like, well, what if I had a character who could smell stuff, and that's all?
That is such a good drunk voice. What if he was the guy, he smells stuff, but he doesn't smell himself?
And he doesn't smell himself. And he literally cares about nothing else. He hates all other people. He cares about no human contact. He doesn't care about what he eats, what he sees, what he hears, or like being comfortable when he sleeps. It's all about like all the scents that are around him and how he can create them. And then he becomes obsessed with creating the scent of human, because at first he's disturbed that he has no scent, and he somehow manages to create the scent of a human and like wear that perfume. And then he becomes obsessed with the sense of girls who are like girls who are like
it was going
not
this way.
Women yet. Well, the thing is, he becomes obsessed with the sense of girls because it's like the scent of love, kind of, but he's not interested at all in love or sex, but because he is so unbelievably obsessed with how they smell and wanting to extract that scent from them and wear it himself. But he's not interested in them as people at all. He just, near the beginning of the book, he kills this girl without even realizing what he's doing, because she like screams and he has to stop her from screaming, so he strangles her, and then he just like tears off all her clothes and cuts off her hair and just smells her, and then he just locks that in his memory, and then he learns how to extract scents from other living things by like killing puppies and birds, and then wrapping them in oil and leather, and then like being able to make that into perfume. This goes into such excruciating detail about how you make perfume and each and every little ingredient that goes in different kinds of perfume.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know how I was interested in this, because I felt like I was the whole time I was like, what am I reading? This is so weird. Like, I was reading a whole paragraph of just ingredients that would go into this one perfume, and I'm like, I don't understand why this is interesting, but I felt like I was really in this guy's...
It's captivating, but you don't get why. Yeah. Like, that sort of thing. Yeah.
I think because it was so detailed, I was really in this guy's point of view with everything he was doing and everything he was seeing and smelling. Like, I just felt like I was there. And so...
Oh, man.
He goes around murdering all these girls to extract their scent so that he could wear it. Yeah. And then once they were dead, he's like, he didn't care about them. And then everyone in this town in France, I think, freaks out because there's a serial killer out murdering girls, but not raping them. Because they were able to tell through like autopsies that they hadn't been raped. And so everyone's freaking out. And then like he totally gets away with it, because at the end he like wears this special perfume that he took years to create that makes everybody become like insanely like in love with him and obsessed with him, because he's wearing this like special like amazing
like
scent
and stuff.
Yeah. And so he's up there like about to be executed because he's on trial for murdering like 40 girls. And then he comes out of his carriage or whatever, and then everyone's just like, no, this guy has to be innocent, and they don't know why, because they don't like
Wait, when
understand.
Is this set?
Shoot, I don't know, like
cause you just said carriage, and I'm like, okay, not sure.
I don't know, like a horse-drawn carriage
when
thing
that is.
where that people who are about to be executed ride in. Yeah. Well, he was gonna be like
so
crucified.
It's not modern times then, is that what we're saying? Like
right.
Because I was in my head, I was imagining this as modern times.
No, it's like
the longest
1800s.
time, and then you said a carriage, and I'm like, wait, what?
No, it's like 1800s.
You might have mentioned that earlier. I just blanked it. I don't know.
But so then everyone becomes obsessed with him, and then they all have like a freaking orgy because it's the scent of like obsessed love in the air. And then he gets mad because he's like, I hate all these people, and now they love me because of this thing that I've created. And then he goes somewhere and gets like eaten by cannibals because people get obsessed with the way he smells and they want him so bad that they like eat him. But he basically did it to himself at the end because he's like, there's no way I can ever be satisfied because I've made a way for people to love me, but I hate all of them, and no one else in the world can appreciate the work I've gone through to create these perfumes except me, so like to hell with it.
Wow.
And I finished that book and I'm like, what the heck did I just read? That's so incredibly weird.
Interesting.
And that was all I could write. Like, I journal the books I read and I put it in and I'm just like, that was weird. It was really cool to read. I enjoyed it, but I'm just like, what is this? And who came up with this stuff?
Sounds like a fever dream right there.
Oh my gosh, you're right. Like, who came up with a character who is 100% sociopathic and is just like, I love the way everything smells. And murder.
I love the smell. He loves the smells, and he makes a special perfume. And it's like, everyone loves them, but like he's like, I don't want this. So he goes and he makes a new one that makes everyone eat him. Like, can't get me another beer. That's how he came up with it.
Oh my god. And
that's cool.
I was on its Wikipedia page, and under the genres, one was like horror fiction, and one just said absurd. Like, the genre was absurd, and I'm like,
nice.
That's
right,
spot on. Yeah.
Nice.
I also read Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. And
right, I've heard mixed things about it. From some people I've heard it's garbage, from some people I've heard it's great. I don't care because I don't care about Harry Potter, but
yeah. I avoided reading reviews. I have heard some negative things about it, and I honestly thought for the most part it was because whenever something new from J.K. Rowling comes out, people are like, I wanted more Harry Potter, and this wasn't Harry Potter. Like, when she released A Casual Vacancy, which was an amazing adult novel, but people were like, I wanted Harry Potter, and it's like, shut up, she can write whatever she wants.
Yeah.
And this was a play, it was meant for the stage, and it was written like it was meant for the stage, and it wasn't even written by J.K. Rowling. She, like, had the story, and then she gave it to a playwright, so it's not even her writing style. And that's perfectly fine. Yeah. So everyone can just, like, shut up if it's not what they wanted. But I had really low expectations for this, and it was really, really lame.
Oh,
it was
okay.
It was a really, really poorly written, sloppy plot. It was really cheesy. The dialogue and the story was just, like, really crappy, and I'm like, this is not a good story.
Interesting.
It was like, I didn't enjoy it. I cringed a lot. There were a couple cute moments where it's like characters that you've known for the past 10 years, they like say something funny about, you know, like something that happened in book 3, and I'm like, oh, okay, whatever.
Does it do that thing that some things do where it's like just wacky callbacks, like someone will walk in and be like, hey, I'm Gilderoy Lockhart, you know me, yay, like classic Harry Potter characters?
I think there were a couple
just
moments
randomly
like that.
show up, and the book expects you to care just because it's nostalgia, but it doesn't really serve a purpose, sort of thing. Because I feel like that's the sort of thing they do.
I mean,
you know,
not too much. For the most part, it was just she was like, she wanted to be like, this is what happens after book 7, and it was the story of Harry's youngest son at Hogwarts dealing with the pressures of having a famous father, and I mean, he had 2 other children before, and his other children didn't go through the pressures of having Harry Potter as a father. It was just his youngest son. So, okay. I did kind of have an issue with the fact that the characters that I knew so well weren't behaving like the characters I knew so well, because this was, you know, from a different writer. But that didn't bother me as much as the fact that the plot was just really bad. It was a bad story. It wasn't interesting. It was just like, really, it was, at best, it was like official canon fan fiction. And I'm really not much of a fan fiction person. So it was okay to get through, but I'm like, I just don't like this story, and I'm not going to accept it as canon because it's really not well written.
Whoa, that bad that you're like, nope, not canon, get out.
No, there's so much in there that I'm like, this is not the Harry Potter world. This is not written the way J.K. Rowling writes stories. I don't know why she came up with this, but she was just having fun, and I fully accept that. And she wanted to put something on stage, and that's cool. Oh, the whole story is basically really crappy time travel. And as you know, I hate time travel. And she did time travel really well in Prisoner of Azkaban, but this entire book was like them going back in time like 40 years
Didn't
and then going back in time
for time turner though?
No, but they found it. They found a new one that was an extra special time turner that they didn't even explain.
I thought that the reason the time turners don't break the whole franchise is because Dumbledore's wrecked them all or something.
They were destroyed in the battle in the Ministry of Magic.
You can't be like, oh, sorry to people like me who are like, okay, why can't you just kill Voldemort? Go back and kill Voldemort when he's a baby, right? If you've got time travel, right? People like me are like, why? And she's like, oh, because we destroyed all of them, it's fine. You can't then circumvent your own Get Out by making a new story and going, there's time travel, mate.
Apparently you can if you just want to write a play.
Dumb.
And have
don't do it. No,
have time travel tornadoes.
Shut up, JK.
Oh, I hated it. Well, yeah, it was just like, we found this time turner that one of the old Death Eaters like made, and it's extra special. You can go back in time years and years instead of just a couple hours, and it's just like, what? Oh, and God. For some reason, this time turner's slightly broken, so they can only go back in time for 5 minutes. And
I hate this. I hate this conversation. I hate Harry Potter.
They're going back in time to try and save Cedric Diggory from dying because Cedric Diggory's dad is all like,
Why would they care?
Because his dad is all like, Harry Potter, you killed my son, or whatever. And so the little Albus Dumbledore and his friend, which is Draco Malfoy's son. Did I say Albus Dumbledore?
Yeah, you did.
Little Albus Potter.
I'm just imagining like a tiny shriveled Albus Dumbledore, even though he died.
He's got a little beard as an 11-year-old. They're like, great. He's all trying to prove himself and be like, I can do something good and reverse one of my dad's mistakes. So they try and save Cedric. And then they go back to the present and, like, everything's changed and warped, and now Voldemort's in power, and, like, all this mucked up stuff. And I'm like, you're not supposed to...
it was Voldemort, yeah.
Everyone knows you're not supposed to mess with time. Any 13-year-old is going to know this. Like, I don't know why they would make his kid that stupid.
Are we done with Harry Potter yet? Because I'm so sick of Harry Potter right now.
I also finished this graphic novel series by Brian K. Vaughan called Why the Last Man.
I keep meaning to get that. I always forget.
I think I've talked about this on a previous episode where all the men except this one guy and his little capuchin monkey die. And it finishes off really, really well, but not in like this crazy, amazing way where you're like, you end the book and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. It's kind of a mellow ending where, I mean, I don't want to tell you what happens, but you're just like, oh, okay. Yeah. That's how they chose to end it. That was really neat.
I'm alright with like mellow endings sometimes.
Yeah, well, it makes it seem more real. Sometimes they come out really well. To me. I'm like, you know, if there's a humongous crisis in the world, sometimes you just got to get through it the best way you can, and then you move on. But the entire series was a really, really cool ride. Like, there was a lot of really interesting pop culture references because this guy loves all his movies and books that he read, so every now and then he would, like, quote someone, and, like, that was cute. That's cool. And there was always really interesting dynamics between all the different characters that came in, and people became important that you weren't expecting to, and all these little twists. It was really, really well written, really interesting series. I definitely recommend it. Nice. And cool. that was August for me.
That was your August. Well, my August start of August. Guess what I was really excited for?
Suicide Squad.
Guess what happened when the reviews started coming out?
Started being not so excited.
Yep. So I started this month not by watching Suicide Squad. I started this month by watching a movie called Assault on Arkham, Batman Assault on Arkham, which is it's titled Batman Assault on Arkham. I don't know why I'm like fumbling on that title so many times, but you know, whatever. Also, Gideon Van Diggle suggested this. Thank you very much for the suggestions. I always appreciate it. It's an animated movie sort of thing about the Suicide Squad going into Arkham to try and get something. I don't want to spoil anything because it's pretty good. This movie is good.
I'd like to see it.
It's on methods, the internet viewing websites. Cut that. But yeah, so you'll be able to find it somewhere. So yeah, this movie is great. Its lineup of the Suicide Squad is better than the one in the movie. Captain Boomerang is great in this. King Shark is great in this, and Killer Frost is great in this. Like, they're all really good in this. Joker has a good role to play in this movie. Like, he's just kind of he's there and he ends up being the antagonist. Spoilers, the Joker's a bad guy, whatever. But he's done well. The animated Joker is always on point. And it's weird because it sounds like it's Mark Hamill's Joker, but it's not. It's like Troy Baker doing a weirdly perfect impression of Mark Hamill's Joker voice, and it just
Mark Hamill did like the Batman cartoon, right?
Yeah, the animated
I've seen a couple of clips of that.
Like the Arkham games and stuff. Like Mark Hamill's Joker voice is amazing. Like he is so good at that voice, and it's really weird hearing that voice but someone else doing it, and you think that it's Mark Hamill the whole time, and then you find out it's someone else, and you're like, what? Weird. Another thing, like, okay, I think this might just be me, but I don't think Harley Quinn is enjoyable in anything she has a voice. I read the first 2 volumes of her recent series, and I enjoyed them. They were good enough. Mm-hmm. But I find that every time she's given a voice, she's annoying. Like, she's obnoxious, and I find that she's obnoxious in that way that, like, they're trying to do the comedy comes from everyone else hating her and everyone else finding her annoying kind of thing, which works well in some, like in Deadpool it works really well because Deadpool the movie and a lot of the Deadpool comics, it works really well because it's like, yeah, everyone finds this guy annoying, but like as an audience I find him funny, so it's fine. With Harley Quinn I'm just like, oh god, just shut up and go away. Just
I feel like maybe that is just you, because you do have a very particular taste with people's voices. It's
so grating. I absolutely cannot stand the voice they use for Harley Quinn. It annoys the hell out of me, and I can't handle it. Like, in this movie, she was the worst part of this movie.
Aww,
I just wanted her to be gone. But yeah, it's good. It's entertaining enough. The plotline's solid enough. The animation's pretty good. There are some really cool cameos, like, while they're breaking out from Arkham, like, Bane shows up, but he doesn't have any speaking lines, so it's good. He's just, like, wrecking stuff, and it's great. Like, it's just, like, Bane's here, which is something that I think the animated movies can do really well, because they don't have to fiddle around with, like, oh, who's going to play Bane in this? Do we have to be consistent like the, like, live action movies have to do?
Yeah.
They can just throw in, like, there's Bane, he's in the background, it's just Bane, there he is. Whereas in the movies, they can't do that for whatever reason.
Yeah, like, one of the things I said when I was done watching Suicide Squad is I'm like, that might have been okay if it was a cartoon.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of the flaws would have been acceptable if it was just a little animated blob.
Yeah. But so, okay, moving quickly on. Assault Arkham is great. Thank you for Gideon Van Diggelen, I think is his actual name. I call him Gideon Van Diggles every time. And I think I'm saying that wrong. If you're annoyed at me saying that wrong, let me know and I'll stop it. So then I watched Suicide Squad, which I regret because it's horrible.
Yeah, sad.
It's badly written. It's awkwardly edited, and the directing isn't good. Like,
it's not.
It's just poor. Like, everything about this film is bad. Its structure is weird. Like, it doesn't feel like it has an actual story. It just feels like it's running through this series of moments that are disjointed and don't link together very well. And it's just like, oh, cool, Joker's here now.
Didn't they film a lot that they ended up cutting out? And they just, like, decided to put in
they did
reshoots, this and that.
They recut it.
Glue some things together.
The story goes, David Ayer had, I think, 6 weeks to write it. And then he wrote it, he shot it, he made a cut. And then the people made those trailers, right? And everyone was like, those trailers are great. So Warner Brothers was like, okay, people like the trailers. Let's give the whole film to the company who made the trailers and get them to make a cut of the film.
Is that really what happened?
And then they made a cut. I think the final cut is like a combination between David Ayer's cut and the cut that the trailer company did. And it's like those two merged and it doesn't work. And like you can tell where the reshoots are because like Rick Flag's hair length changes throughout the film, like from where they had reshoots. And there's some shots that are definitely like completely cut. Like okay, spoilers for Suicide Squad, no one cares. I'm not even going to put a timestamp for the end of these spoilers because quite frankly, who cares? I might. Okay, look at the screen. If there is one, there is one. So like you can tell where things are cut because you know how everyone has those animated intros?
Yeah.
Everyone has those, like, expositional animated intros, and I reckon the plan was to give Slipknot one of those, right? But they just cut it for time, I assume? Because in Assault on Arkham... Because, okay, in any Suicide Squad thing, right, you've got to blow someone's head off as a show of power, right? In Assault on Arkham, they give the person who they blow up a little intro with all the rest of the cast to be like, you don't know who's going to blow up, so when he does blow up, it's a surprise.
Well, so they wrote that movie pretty well.
Whereas in Suicide Squad... Slipknot just kind of shows up, punches a woman, and then blows up. That's all he does in this entire movie.
Yeah, you see Slipknot show up, and you're like, you're gonna die, because you didn't have an intro.
Yeah, it's so dumb. It's like, oh yeah, and here's the other guy that's a member of the Suicide Squad. And you're like,
who's this?
He can climb anything. That's not a superpower. That's just he can climb anything. Shut up. Everyone can do that if they try. Just dumb. Also,
you want to talk about dumb and not having superpowers? There was no reason for Harley to be in the Suicide Squad the way she was in that movie.
Yeah,
because they made her stupid.
Also
She's not
because,
supposed to be
Amanda
stupid.
Waller is building this team. She's building this team as a, what if Superman shows up again, but he's a bad Superman? And it's like, okay, so you've got a bad Superman, Amanda. What are you going to do? A dude who can shoot guns pretty good, a guy who throws boomerangs, and a woman with a mallet, and some crocodile dude who kind of doesn't really do much, and a guy who can climb anything. That's what you've got. Why not just only have the Enchantress? She's the only one that's of any use to you, Amanda Waller, you imbecile. Ugh.
I miss Shark King.
King Shark is amazing. And King Shark should have been in this movie, but they were like, oh, no, there's no CGI budget, so...
How is there a CGI budget for a crocodile and not a shark? I don't
Because he was all makeup. How did Deadpool, a movie that was on a significantly smaller budget, do Colossus in pure CG, and Suicide Squad, they're like, nah, we can just do Killer Croc. The thing is, I wouldn't have wanted King Shark in this movie, because they would have ruined him like they ruined Killer Croc. He would have just done nothing. And it's really obvious they wanted King Shark the whole time, because one of the only things that Killer Croc does that's special
is swim.
And it's like, this was meant to be King Shark, though, wasn't it? Did you also notice, in the bar scene, when Rick Flag is like, oh, I'm not going to blow up your head, and then Boomerang just bails?
And then he comes back.
That it cuts. And then literally,
no
like,
reason.
10 seconds later, he just kind of pops back for absolutely no reason, and it's stupid. And it's clearly been cut. Like, Captain Boomerang was a great character, and when they were doing that thing where Enchantress was, like, showing them, like, dream sequences of, like, this is what you want, I can give it to you. Yeah. I really wanted Boomerang to have one of those. I really did.
Where he was just, like, drinking a lot.
But they didn't. Yeah, it's just him in, like, the outback with, like, stacks of cash and a load of beers. How good would that have been? Like, Captain Boomerang was absolutely the best part of this film. I loved him. He was great. Like, he was the only character who had jokes that didn't fall flat. Like, his comedy was great. The way he, like, ducked out of that fight to just drink a beer. I love that shot. It's really funny to me. Every other joke I found, they didn't work. Like, when Will Smith is like, oh, we're some sort of Suicide Squad. And it's like, shut up, Will Smith. And then, like, before we recorded, I kept quoting this to you because I hate this line. When Harley Quinn breaks the window and then is like, we're bad guys, it's what we do. I hate that line of dialogue. It's the most cringy line of dialogue.
That was about when I gave up on the movie. I'm like, that was supposed to be in a trailer and not in a movie because no one says that. No one...
It's horrible.
No one talks like that.
And then in the bar scene when El Diablo's like, I killed my child and wife, and Harley Quinn's like, you should own that. You should own it. You killed a child. It's like, no. Also, what really... Everyone says like, oh, Will Smith was good in this film, though. And I'm like, no, but he was good at being Will Smith. He wasn't good at being Deadshot. This movie consistently tells you that Deadshot's a bad guy, but it never shows you him being a bad... He kills one dude.
I know.
But it's like...
Well, see, I thought he was the only one who was well casted. I thought he played Deadshot really well, but they didn't write him well.
I think he played Will Smith well.
Because they were like, he's a killer. He will kill anyone as long as he gets to go see his daughter. Yeah. And then she's like, kill Harley Quinn and you'll see your daughter. And he's like, no. I'm like, there's no reason that they would suddenly like each other and be friends. And that's why this would have worked as a cartoon. Because Harley at the end is all like, you messed with my friends. And I'm like, you don't have any friends. You're Harley Quinn, you care about the Joker, and that's all you care about.
And when El Diablo is like, I lost my first family, but now I have another one. And it's like, you don't like these people.
You are
hate
all
these people. They're
psychopaths.
Trash.
You have no feelings.
I did like El Diablo, though, because he was, like, the only character in this who had any form of development or an arc. It's just a shame that arc happened in, like, the last 5 minutes and wasn't handled very well. Like, I think that arc could have been well done. El Diablo was alright. I liked how he was, like, objecting to everything the whole way through, and then at the end, like, what he did. It was good. I kind of liked that. That was fine. Like, that was one of the few points in this movie that I kind of enjoyed. Okay, I'm looking at my notes here. Oh, the Joker? The fact that we haven't mentioned the Joker this whole friggin' speech shows how good Jared Leto's like months of friggin' being in character the whole time, sending people dead pigs and nonsense. He's not in this movie. He's in this movie for like 8 minutes. He's in this movie less than Godzilla was in the recent Godzilla film. Mm-hmm. And that's saying something. He was in this movie so little.
He was in this movie so little, and yet they still like killed part of his character because they made it seem like he actually cared about Harley and loved her, which he doesn't.
He was a mess. He wasn't a character. He was just a series of drivel. Like, what? You're trying to tell me this guy's a crazy man who sits in a room with a bunch of knives, and then he's a weird mobster who's like trying to break Harley out and being like a creepy sex pest that's obsessed with it. Doesn't make any sense. Nothing about his character makes sense or is logical or is written well.
He was kind of there to support Harley's background. Like, Harley was more important than he was in that movie, and she was already ruined, so...
Yeah. The fight scenes, is it just me or the fight scenes really boring? Like, none of them were shot interestingly, none of the fight choreography was interesting. Captain Boomerang only threw like 3 boomerangs the whole time. Most of the time he just punched dudes, and it's like, you got a guy who throws boomerangs. Have him throw some boomerangs! Yeah,
in general, fight scenes are kind of boring to me.
No, but like, some movies do really good. Like, okay, Civil War. You've got a bunch of crazy superpower people, and that fight scene in the airport is amazing, right? You've got to give me that.
You're right.
And in Suicide Squad, you've got a bunch of equally interesting superpowered, or, you know, quote-unquote superpowered people who should have interesting combat scenes, you know? Captain Boomerang should have a cool scene where he throws a boomerang and someone looks at him and is like, you missed, and then it comes and hits him in the back of the head or something.
Yeah, and Harley's walking around with her big old hammer just because she's like, I'm cute and I'm wearing a hammer. And then she, like, just picks up a gun and starts shooting the people who also just are shooting guns. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, gunshot scene.
It's lame.
Would have been so much funnier if she had, like, ran into the fray and started hitting people on the head with her hammer.
It's really dumb. This whole movie is dumb and bad. And Katana could have been so cool, but, like...
Why was she there?
In this movie? Nothing.
She was so useless. And she
I hate this movie so much. This isn't a movie, it's a series of music videos with some dialogue.
Yeah.
Also, the soundtrack was garbage. I hate that soundtrack. It was like they were like, oh, Guardians of the Galaxy did this cool thing. Let's do that. Let's just force it. It doesn't work. There's no meaning for any of these songs. They shouldn't be in this.
Again, everyone's trying to copy Marvel.
And
then you just got the worst villain. It's like they stuck their hand in a pile of villains and just picked one, like there was a bowl with all the pieces of paper of all the villains, and they stuck their hand in it and they pulled it out and they're like, oh, all right, well.
They didn't even really need to be a villain. Like, you didn't need a big fight scene at the end. Oh my god.
And she couldn't even move her lips over the dubbed, like she had her voice and it was like, and then if you watch her lips moving, they don't sync up with the words.
Yeah.
I'm like, why didn't someone edit that and fix it?
Terrible film. Terrible film. Don't watch Suicide. It's so bad. I would say it's the worst movie that, like, I've seen this year, but I've seen Batman vs Superman this year, so it's not.
Yeah.
But it comes close, you know? It's horrible.
Shall we move on?
Okay. So I wasn't going to watch this movie, but I got a suggestion from a man named Johnny Blazer on YouTube, which, for the record, Johnny Blazer is one of my favorite YouTube names ever because he's taken Johnny Blaze as in Ghost Rider and made it a marijuana joke. It's great. But he was basically saying that he wanted to know what I would think of The Human Centipede 2 because I talked about the first one last month and I wasn't sure if I was going to watch it, and he was like, I'd like to see what you think because he doesn't want to watch it himself and he wants the overview.
That wasn't really a suggestion as much as a curiosity. And so you took that bait?
Yeah, well, no, because I have to. If someone says they want me to watch a movie, I'll do it. Like, it's how it goes.
Right.
So, okay, we kind of covered the premise of this last month because I read it, but gross, sweaty, mentally disturbed neckbeard guy is obsessed with the first movie. This is in the real world where that movie is a movie. It's kind of meta, it's dumb. It's not actually played that hard. Like, it's just like he's watching it on his laptop and then he goes out and makes his own. Like, it's not like drilled in that hard, but it's kind of like this is where he got the idea to make his own centipede, right?
Mm-hmm.
He goes about, he gets 12 people, he can like drunk people and stuff, and one of them is pregnant. That is important later for horrible, stupid reasons. He ties them all into a 12 people centipede, and you know how one of the things that I think was really good about the first one is it had this like clinical creepiness to it, where everything was like sterile and he was a surgeon and he was doing everything properly.
Mm-hmm.
This one doesn't do that. It's just like he's in a warehouse and he uses staples instead of surgery to do them, and it's just like
desk
blatantly
staples
going
from Office Depot.
Yep, like office staples, and it's blatantly going for the like shock horror sort of thing instead of the creepy horror that the first one I think did pretty well. Like the first one was chilling in its clinical, sterile, like he's a surgeon and he's doing this because he needs to experiment.
Well, you mentioned that the first one was more psychologically scary than it was like gory.
Yeah. The first one.
I feel like if someone stapled my
lips
to someone else, I'd be able to rip through that if I really wanted to.
Oh yeah, one of them does later on. He splits. Spoilers for The Human Centipede 2. He ends up. One of the guys pulls his face off, and then that makes the guy mad and he kills them all. Meanwhile, at the end, the pregnant woman's got away and she's in a car and she... Oh god, I don't even want to describe this because this is just, like, I wasn't put off by it, but I just don't want to subject people to this description of it, but I will. She's giving birth in the truck and she tries to drive away, but the baby lands underneath the gas pedal and you can guess where that goes. It's dumb. It doesn't... This movie's dumb.
What's the point of that?
It's just to shock you. It's shock value.
But it's so not believable. Like, no pregnant woman giving birth would be driving around, and then... Also, you can't...
I mean, she's trying to escape from a centipede man, so, like, you know.
Also, I just don't... I don't buy the physics of that.
Yeah.
That if she's sitting on a seat, that the baby would, like, slide out.
It's dumb, and it's done badly, and, like, it plays up the gore thing, and the, like... at one point, he forces the girl in the front to take laxatives just for the yucks, and it's like, cool, okay, cool. Like, because in the first film, when they first have to do the feeding thing, I mentioned it last time, it's like, oh god, this is horrible. Whereas in this one, it's like, okay, he's fed her laxatives. I know what this is, how this is going.
I mean, it sounds about right. Like, some crazy guy is obsessed with a movie that you say is pretty good, and then he ruins it. Yeah. It's like he makes his own sequel, and it's a really bad sequel. But then we all have to watch it.
It's forced, it's bad, it's... The one thing that could have worked for this movie is he doesn't have any lines of dialogue, apart from grunting and laughing and stuff. He doesn't speak. And if that was done in a better movie, if there was a better movie where the villain didn't talk, I think that would work really well. Like, if he was just doing these things to people.
That was probably a good idea.
Because in the first movie, the thing that made the villain really interesting was the way he was talking about the things he was doing, and he was just, like, scientific about it. But I think in the sequel, you can't do that again, so having a guy who just does it and doesn't tell you why he's doing it, he's just a crazy man. Could have worked, but in a better movie, you know?
Yeah, like, it was a good idea, but it just didn't work out.
Oh, also, this is the final thing I want to say about this movie, because it's funny and dumb. It's funny in a really stupid way. He gets the actress who played the woman in the first movie.
Yeah.
She's playing the actress. It's annoying. And the way he gets her is he lures her in by telling her that she's going to be in an audition with Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's like a notice board thing, and he leaves it off, and it's like... And she's like, oh, cool, I can go and audition for a Tarantino movie in this creepy warehouse. And it's like, why would you believe that? No one would believe. It's dumb. So yeah, this movie is dumb, it's stupid, it's a horrible sequel to a decent movie.
Wow.
I'm gonna move on now.
Okay.
Joseph Hunt is on a roll. He has suggested 3 movies to me, all of them have been great. His third movie is a movie called Whiplash, which is about J.K. Simmons, who plays J. Jonah Jameson in the Spider-Man trilogy, and is the best part of that whole trilogy, teaching Mr. Fantastic from the Fantastic Four movie, the recent one, how to be a good drummer. But they're not at... I've confused you. Basically, it's cool because it's two people who have acted in comic book movies before.
Wait, is this about the Fantastic Four?
No, it's not. It's just the actor. I just thought that was cool. Deal with it. But okay, so it's about this kind of like this kid who wants to be a great drummer. Like, he really wants to be a great drummer, and he's going to this college. He gets into this band that's led by this really strict guy who's almost like a drill sergeant in the way he makes people like work over the top and way too hard, and he's just horrible to them. But he gets results. Like, his band is great because he's like really unorthodox and really horrible. And it does a really good job of delving into why he does that, like why he acts the way he does to the people he's teaching music to, why he is so hard on people. But it also, this kid is like, I think it's implied that he's kind of, I don't want to say specifically, like, because it never goes into it, but like he's either like autistic or he has Asperger's or something, like really minorly. Like, it's not dealt with, but it's clear that there's something there that makes him really obsessive with the drumming. Like, it's his passion. It's the only thing he wants to do. He just needs to be better at any cost. So you've got this guy pushing him too hard, and him just not thinking there's anything wrong with being pushed too hard, and him doing everything he's told and pushing himself harder than he should. And
what's the like feel of this movie? Because at first it sounded like just a cute little like
it sounds
like follow your dreams movie, but now it's sounding kind of disturbing.
Nope. It's tense. It's really tense. It's it doesn't. It kind of has a good ending, but like not. I don't want to spoil the ending because people might watch it, and I'd love them to because it's a great movie. But like,
Okay.
yeah, it goes really tense, and it's just about these two characters and their interactions with each other and the way that everything plays out. And there's no real point it's making. It's just this story about this intense relationship that goes too far. You know?
Yeah, I respect those kind of stories that aren't really trying to make a point or have some sort of epiphany. Yeah. They're just like, here's some people doing their thing.
Yeah, it's the end. So good. And
okay, cool. Whiplash.
Okay, so then I watched a movie called Blade Runner, which is like a classic. It was suggested to me by Voyager. By the way, Voyager suggested 2 films. Because I don't want to get too many suggestions, so I'm just going to take I'm going to take one of the films you suggest. If you still want me to watch the other one, you suggested The Fly as well. If you still want me to watch that, suggest it this month. Yeah, I'm only going to take one suggestion from each person.
Yeah, I have Blade Runner, and I've been meaning to watch it. I've heard it's a really, really, really good movie.
Meh?
Meh? Really?
Meh. It's...
Harrison Ford.
I never want to say that I didn't like a film that was suggested to me.
Aww.
But I didn't like this film. I don't know if I was watching the final cut, which is like supposed to be the one where Ridley Scott had the most control over it or something. So I don't know if that has affected what I like, whether or not the theatrical cut was better or worse or what. But like, this idea has some really interesting themes, and it has some good, like, it has a good message to it, and it has some really interesting kind of like things it's trying to say. But I just don't think it said any of them very well. Like, it didn't capture my interest. I didn't really care about anything that was happening. It kind of had this dystopian, like, it follows a guy who's hunting down replicants, which are like robot people who can blend in as people, and they're trying to, they're bad for a reason that I don't really know why everyone hated them. They just did. And it's kind of in this dystopian future where they don't really explain why it's dystopian, like what happened at all. Like, they kind of do, but they don't. So I'm kind of like not really invested in this world because I don't know much about it. Like, I don't know why he needs to hunt the replicants. I mean, because they're doing bad stuff in the context of this story, but like, it seems like everyone hates replicants even if they're not doing bad stuff. So, you know, whatever.
I'll have to watch it.
Yeah,
because I don't really understand. I've also heard that Blade Runner is just like, what's the word? Like, it's one of like the classic sci-fi movies. You know, it's like, it's one of the things that everything else is compared against. And I can't remember. Is it based off a book or anything? It's
based on Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Asimov.
I don't know. I just think there were good things behind this movie, but I just don't... They didn't captivate me. I didn't end up being interested in it. The main character, Harrison Ford's character, I just didn't care about. So I was just like,
okay,
whatever. I didn't care what happened to him.
Maybe it wasn't the right
setting
for that kind of story.
Yeah.
I think I'll still watch it, and then maybe we can talk about it next month because I'm still interested.
But yeah, might just be me, but I just struggled to get immersed in it, and I struggled to really enjoy it. But who knows? Maybe it might just be personal preference. Might be an issue with the film.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like it.
I couldn't say.
Maybe it's one of those things that doesn't really stand the test of time.
So then the final film I watched. I think, did you mention this one on an episode before?
Probably, because I watched it on the plane home from England, and then I was like, you have to watch this.
Yeah, I think you did, yeah. It's a movie called Room, about a woman who's being kept in a room with her son, and it's horrible. I cried. It's hard to watch that movie.
Good.
Like, it's really hard to watch.
Horribly disappointed if you did not cry. Because...
like, it's not hard to watch in the same way Suicide Squad is hard to watch. It's hard to watch in a, like... I'm dehydrating because all of the fluid in my body is like leaving through my eye holes kind of thing. Like, it's the acting is perfect, the directing, the score, everything blends together to make this really good movie about characters that it builds up this perfect connection to them. Like, you care about these people. Like, you really are invested in their story, and you care what's happening.
It's a wonderful story.
And like, the child actor is amazing.
Really good.
I never once felt like he was awkward or stumbled on any. I just felt like he was natural. He was perfect.
He was so good.
Like, it was amazing.
And I cared about his entire plight through that movie when he was like...
I cared about him more than the mum, and I think that was the point.
I mean, spoiler alert for this movie. Like, when he was telling the police like where to find his mom. And he was like, "Oh, it's in a shed, and they've got a skylight." I was like so tense during that whole car ride. I was like, "Please, please go save her!" Oh my gosh, I don't want this bad guy to win.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna go back and kill her. I thought they were gonna go into the room and like she was gonna be dead. And I'm like, no, you don't, no, you don't. And it was legit tense. Like, that entire film is tense and it's scary and it's like but it's not scary in a like psychopath's gonna kill everyone kind of scary. It's
no,
scary
it's
in a
scary
like
because you know that kind of stuff
I just don't want these
happens.
things to happen. Like it's dread. It's more like a kind of you're dreading it and you're.
And I can't remember if that
and,
particular story is based on a true story. I know it's based on a book.
Yeah.
But if not those exact people in that exact situation, that kind of stuff absolutely happens in real life every day. And you're just like, this is horrible. And I couldn't even put myself in her place. I'm like, she's been in a garden shed for 5 years.
Yeah.
And she has found the strength to keep 7 years, sorry. And well, her son is 5. That was where I got that.
Yeah.
And she finds the strength to keep her son healthy and get him exercise in this tiny little space and like keep him healthy and keep him smart. And I'm like, I don't know where she found the strength to do that. And how she's not going crazy.
When he mentions that she has bad days, and there's a point in the film where she's just lying in the bed and she won't get up, and he just has to play on his own for the day.
Yeah.
And it's like, this hurts. This really hurts. Like everything. it's sad.
And
the movie is sad, and I would recommend
really
seeing
bizarre.
it. It's perfect. It's a really good, emotionally powerful film.
Yeah, and it was.
I'm glad you suggested it to me.
It was very well made. Like I was afraid to watch it at first because certain movies that are kind of like in your face about real life tragedy are too disturbing for me. Like I've seen a lot of movies like that. Like college clubs put on about like other cultures being like really oppressive to women and like there's like a lot of like rape culture and stuff out there and I can't watch that stuff. It's like it's really gross for me and I'm like I know that's real but I just can't handle it. And I was afraid this movie was going to be like that, but it was really easy to take in even though it was really hard on like my heart. But it was not like it wasn't disturbing to watch. It was just really, really, really sad to think about. But
it was more sad than like horrifying. One of the things I felt, one of the saddest things in the movie was when the guy came in, and it was rape, but she wasn't fighting it. Like it was the point where she'd been there for 7 years, and you could just tell that she was just like, this is my life now. I have to do this.
And she was trying to protect her son at that point.
She never seemed like she was fighting it. All she wanted was for him to be protected. She was just like, fine, you can, whatever. And that was really sad. Like, that was really, really sad. And watch this movie. It's great. It's so good. And if you don't cry, you're probably a sociopath. Go and get help.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
I should probably not say that because someone might do it and then they'll watch the film and they'll be like, oh God, what's wrong with me? Maybe you just aren't a crier. I don't know. Don't assume you're a sociopath if you don't cry this film.
Well, I mean, you should at least be crying on the inside.
I'm not a psychologist.
Not all tears are on the outside. Sometimes I'm like find myself like sobbing, but there's no like tears coming out of my eyes, but I'm still like
I had that. Throughout this movie, every now and then I would just like have an uncontrollable loud like sobbing noise.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's happening to me? But yeah.
That was an excellent film. What's that actress's name who played the mum?
Brie Larson. She is playing Captain Marvel.
I was just going to say, she's going to be Captain Marvel, and I'm really excited.
I'm hyped. I have faith. Because before I'd only seen her, she has like a minor role in Community, like for a couple of episodes, and I'd only seen her in that, so I was like, okay, not sure about this actress. But having seen her in Room, I'm like, yeah, fine. She is a great actress, and she will be able to... Marvel have done it again. They've done a good casting. Good job, Marvel. Good job, Marvel. Bad job, DC. Sorry, I can't not do it. DC is just terrible at the moment. Fix your crap, DC. I want you to make good films.
Yeah.
Really upsets me.
Room was probably one of the best movies I've seen this year. I decided to watch that on the plane home from England, and I was just like, this is fantastic. And I wish we could keep talking about that one, but we are far over time.
I haven't put it on my ranking list yet, but it will be high. We'll, at some point, go through the whole ranking list at the end of the year. But, okay, before we go, one of those films was a lie. I didn't actually watch it.
Blade Runner?
Nope. Ha! Oh. I win!
What were the others? There's the Arkham cartoon,
Whiplash,
Suicide Squad, Room.
Son Arkham, Suicide Squad, Room.
Was it?
And, I mean, you already ruined your first guess by saying Blade Runner.
Yeah, I did. Was it Human Centipede 2?
Yep.
There you go.
Johnny Blaze It doesn't exist. I was
gonna say I don't remember seeing that name on our comments.
Whoop whoop! I am the victor.
You would make up a name like that.
course I made that name up.
So all
Although,
those.
if someone go and get the YouTube name Johnny Blaze It, I want to see you comment as Johnny Blaze It. It'll be great.
Wait, so all those scenes you mentioned, those were did you just look those up on YouTube or on Wikipedia?
Yeah, no, I looked them up and I looked at the Wikipedia premise. It's super easy to make up opinions about the Human Centipede too. You just
Yeah, I mean,
it was
well, you
gross.
already
I don't
read the
actually
premise,
know-
and the movie probably was just as good as you pretended it to be.
Yeah, I don't actually know if it's too grotesque, like if it does like ham up the like gore stuff, but from what I've read, it's like, yeah, they've hammed it up. Like as far as I can tell, and the thing with the Quentin Tarantino audition, that's real.
Yeah, I imagine.
That's in the film apparently. I don't know why.
I mean, I feel like everything you
That's such a
said
dumb-
was probably real. You just like looked it up
Yeah,
somewhere.
it's good.
Oh, something I wanted to
So I
say
have
about
officially
that franchise is the
Mm-hmm.
title. The title is wrong. They're not centipedes. If they're standing on their hands and knees, that would make them millipedes, because centipedes have 2 legs per body segment, and millipedes have 4 legs per body segment. And if each person is a body segment, they're standing on 4 limbs. So these movies
Yep.
are wrong in their title. They're not centipedes. They're millipedes.
All right, human millipede. That's what we call them now. That's a fan name.
They are.
So yeah, if you want me to watch a movie, let me know. Just one a month. Let me know. It'll be good. Don't suggest bad films. Don't tell me to watch like bad ones. Or do actually. I'll watch them if you tell me to.
Yeah, you'll have an easier time ranking them.
Actually, that's a challenge. Try and find a film that I'll like less than Batman versus Superman.
Ooh.
You
Fun,
can. It's
fun
not
time.
possible. Even if you put like Sharknado or something on this list, like it wouldn't be lower than like I hate Batman vs
Well, I mean,
Superman. It's a horrible film.
you can't pick movies that are so bad they're good, not like Plan 9 from Outer Space or something. Because, I mean, that's...
I have never heard of that.
You have never heard of Plan 9 from Outer Space?
No, it was Plan 9 from Outer Space.
It's literally the
Wait, is
worst
that the one with
movie
Nazis
ever made.
on the moon or whatever.
The worst movie ever made. Hands down. Everyone knows it. It's like in the history of films, it's the
don't.
worst movie ever made.
Huh.
And it was it was
Okay.
made in like the 40s, so it's in black and white. It was like Bela Lugosi's last film. It was by Ed Wood, and actually the movie Ed Wood is
Wood.
amazing. That's like about... Why are you staring at me? You're distracting me.
It was made in the 50s and it has entertainment value. It's not the worst movie ever.
Well, I'm talking about movies that are so bad that they have value. You're not on this show. Please go record Effortless.
Get wrecked. Is he gone?
Yeah, he left.
Good.
Ed Wood's actually a really, really good biopic. Johnny Depp plays him, and he's a super weirdo and makes
All right.
really interesting movies.
But yeah, okay. I think we should probably wrap this episode up because we have
I
been
think so too.
going on about Drivel for a while now. So yeah, give us comments, suggest movies, tell me what you thought of Suicide Squad, whether or not it's garbage, which
don't.
if you say it's not garbage, I'm gonna find you and I'm gonna
Put you
I
in a
won't
human
do anything.
millipede.
I'll find you. Yeah, I'll find you and put you in my human millipede. I won't do that. I'll find you and I'll make a perfume out of you.
Good job.
That was a callback. Classic.
Good job.
Right, alright, are we done now? Wait, bye.
Goodbye, everybody.